Hello everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome back to the video on the channel. Yeah, hope everybody's doing well. So we're up to the 20th and final chapter of Soccer Duel. Chapter 20 of Soccer Duel on page 128. Okay, let's continue then. The stands were packed on both sides of the field, and all along the sidelines, people were camped out to watch the big game. There was a sound system with a microphone, and the league commissioner was there to announce the game and to give out the trophies afterward. Bryce recognized kids from every team in the league. A lot of them came up to wish him good luck, but some didn't. Bryce knew why. At one time or another, he'd probably shown them up, outplayed them, dissed them, fouled them, or just plain made them look bad. It would take a long time to get people to notice he changed, Bryce realized, but something inside him had changed. Rennie Harding had shown him that you could be a great competitor without playing as if you were the only one on the field. Well, today he was going to show what he was made of. Bryce didn't feel nervous, really. More like he was flying above it all, like in the last game. He knew he was going to have a good one. Rennie huddled with his teammates and their coach. They all looked at each other, including Isaac Mendes, who was there in uniform with his ankle in a soft cast now. "You ready to go get that championship trophy?" the coach asked his team. The Blue Hornets put their hands together and raised their voices in a mighty shout. "Go Blue!" Even Jordan Wu seemed excited. Still betting on the Yellow Jackets, Rennie asked him with a wry smile. "Kind of," Jordan admitted, "but I figure we might as well go down fighting." "Jordan?" Rennie said, grabbing both Jordan's shoulders and shaking him. "Snap out of it. Today's our day. I can feel it." "Your day, maybe," Jordan said. "Our day, I don't know. The odds are 50-50, actually," Norm Harvey said, stepping forward. He was wearing a Blue Hornets uniform, too, with the number 00 on it. Rennie had to laugh. "Hey, cool uniform, dude," he said. "You've got to admit, there are no uniforms in chess." "Please," Norm said, rolling his eyes. "I am only wearing this ridiculous thing in support of the team." "Jordan," Rennie said, "speak to Norm here about team spirit, okay? I've got to get out there." He ran out into the field with the other starters and took his position. The ref blew his whistle, and the big game began. On his first rush, Bryce left 3 Hornets on the ground where they fell, skidding while trying to stay with him. He faked the shot, then passed to Eric Dornquist, who won time to pass the goalie for the first score of the game. Bryce clapped his hands once, then trotted back toward midfield. He felt no desire to do his usual victory dance this time. He left Eric hot dog it around the field. The team was only up 1 goal. Bryce wasn't ready to celebrate yet. This game was far from over. Sure enough, Rennie broke free of a throw-in and forced a corner kick. Bryce could only watch helplessly as the ball stayed at the Yellow Jackets' end, followed over by a swarm of players on both teams. He knew the Hornets had scored when the roar went up from the end of the field, and he knew who had gotten the goal when they started shouting his name. "Rennie! Rennie! Rennie!" Bryce was next to him to draw blood, though. His team kept control after the whistle, and he drifted downfield to the right of the ball, which was being dribbled by Eric Dornquist on the left wing. Bryce saw an opening behind the defender, called out to Eric, and ran to the gap. The pass from Eric found him perfectly in the mid-stride. Bryce kicked the ball softly toward the front of the goal, then beat the goalie to it as he came out to smother the ball. The shot dribbled into the net. Bryce felt himself rise into the air as he tripped over the goalie, did a full somersault, and came up standing. He raised his arms in triumph as the crowd applauded. Now it was his name they were chanting. Rennie was really into it now. He promised himself that this next goal was his and his alone. The Hornets couldn't afford to allow the Yellow Jackets a 2-goal lead, and with Bryce taking a breather, now was the best time to tie up the game again. Rennie deliberately went out of position to his right, causing a small crowd to congregate around him and away from the ball. Then he sized his moment and rushed back to center, 3 steps ahead of the defenders. "Over here," he shouted to the left winger John Singleman. John sent the ball downfield and Rennie ran to keep up with it. It landed in front of him, bouncing toward the last defender. Rennie got there first, headed toward the ball over the defender, and deked around his left. The defender whirled around too late. Rennie already had control of the ball, with only the goalie to beat. Rennie took his time. He could feel the other defenders racing toward him. At the last moment, he faked twice, then kicked. Just as he guessed, the goalie had gone for the second fake, thinking it would be his real move. Rennie outmaneuvered him, and the game was tied 2-2. It stayed that way until halftime. Rennie collapsed on the sidelines exhausted. He had played the entire half and had never stopped running. "I'm holding you out for the start of the second half," Coach McMaster told him. "You're all flushed. Drink some fluids. Don't worry, I'll get you back in there." Rennie didn't argue. He knew the coach was right. Bryce McCormick was big and strong enough to play the whole game without any more rest, but Rennie wasn't. He only hoped the game stayed close till he got back in. "Dad?" Bryce couldn't believe it. He was staring into the eyes of his father, who was looking back at him through tears. "Hello, son," he said softly. "I've been sitting here the whole time just watching you." He smiled. "You keep it up, and you're gonna have you a trophy. You know something? You're even better than I was when I was your age." Bryce's eyes widened. "Really? You mean that?" Bryce has seen the old photographs, the dusty trophies. His dad had been all-state in high school, in 3 different sports. "I'm sorry I haven't been around to see you more often, son," his dad said. "I don't know. Sometimes I think about what's going on in my life is so important." He laughed without joy. "Funny, huh? I guess this is what's really important, right?" Bryce nodded and swallowed hard. "I'm glad you came, Dad," he said, and the two of them hugged. His father ran a hand through Bryce's hair and said, "I'm going to make it my business to get to know you again, if that's okay with you." "It's great, Dad," Bryce whispered, hugging him tighter. "Yellow Jackets," Coach Hickey shouted. "Let's go. Gather round." "I've got to go," Bryce said. "You get out there and nail it down, Junior," his father said. "I'll be rooting for you." With Rennie on the sidelines, the game rapidly began to tilt in favor of the Yellow Jackets. When Bryce hit an incredible shot with two defenders right on him to put his team back into the lead, Rennie sprang up and ran over to Coach McMaster. "Put me back in, Coach," he demanded. "I've got to get back in there." "All right," McMaster said. "Singleman, come out for a breather." "What? Why, Coach? We need him on the wing." "I've got to get my subs in there sometime," Coach McMaster explained. "League rules. Everyone gets at least 10 minutes of playing time. Finals or no finals." Shaking his head of understanding, Rennie headed out onto the field. Possession kept changing hands over the next 5 minutes, until finally John Singleman was put back into the game. Now that Rennie had some real help up front, the Hornets were able to sustain a rush. It ended with Singleman putting a corner kick right into Rennie's foot, 10 feet in front of the goalie. One swift kick later, the score was tied again. We're going to win. "Oh yes," Renegade Jordan was screaming. He paid no attention. With time running down, he knew that he had to keep focused on the game. Bryce McCormick was causing all kinds of trouble in the Hornets' zone now. Rennie, not wanting to give the Yellow Jackets the lead again, ran back to help out on defense. He could hear his coach yelling at him to stay up front, but he knew he had to get back there to give his overall defenseman some support. He had the advantage of surprise, and when he came up from behind Bryce, it was easy to knock the ball away from him. "Hey," Bryce yelled. "What are you doing back here?" Rennie didn't answer. He was already in hot pursuit of the ball. He got to just before it went out of bounds, then spun around and kicked it downfield to John Singleman. By the time he got into the Yellow Jacket zone, the ball had already been shot and the rebound was coming right toward him. Rennie headed it back toward the goal and rushed in to keep up the pressure. It was too much for Sam Plummer, the hairy Yellow Jackets goalie, who shouted for help too late. Rennie busted a shot over Sam's left shoulder that caught the net just underneath the top bar. The Hornets had their first lead of the game. 2 minutes left, the referee alerted the teams. "Everyone up front," the Yellow Jackets coach yelled. "This is it. Get it to Bryce." Rennie heard him and called out to the other forwards to get back and help. With all the Yellow Jackets defensemen downfield, the Hornets defense would be outmanned and outgunned. It was a desperate ploy, and it was dangerous. It meant the play would be in the Hornets' end, and that, of course, meant some risk. Still, if the Hornets could fall back and jam up the passing lanes, Bryce would have little chance of getting off a good shot in time. Rennie made it his business to guard Bryce one-on-one. Bryce saw him coming this time and smiled confidently. He started to look to Rennie like a beaten man. So, this was it, Bryce thought as he saw Rennie coming at him. It was now or never with less than 2 minutes left to play. There was only one thought on Bryce's mind: score and make it fast. He put a move on Rennie that was so sudden Rennie slid to the ground and tumbled head over heels. "Yeah," Bryce shouted as he digged two more Hornets defenders. He was zigging and zagging toward the goal, but subtly allowing the defense to push him to the left, clearing the middle for his Yellow Jacket teammates. Then when the defenders had fully committed to him, Bryce seized the moment. He went into the patented spin move, the one he'd shown Rennie, and lifted the ball into the air, where he headed it over the defense into the wide-open middle. "Get back in position," Coach Baxter was screaming, but it was too late. The Yellow Jackets had a 3-on-1 rush going, and Bryce, along with the stunned defenders, ran toward the play. There was a hard shot, which the goalie got a hand on. Then there was a one rebound, then another. Rennie Harding put his body in front of a fourth shot, but the rebound came straight to Bryce. This is the moment he'd been waiting for. He reared back his right leg and smashed a blur of a shot right into the corner of the net, just as the ref blew his whistle, signaling the end of regulation time. "Tie game," the ref shouted. 15-minute overtime. 10 minutes went by and the teams traded one more goal each, Rennie sending up John Singleman and Bryce feeding Eric Dornquist. Time was winding down. Rennie knew what would happen next. What would happen now? If nobody came up with the goal in the next 5 minutes or so, there would be a shootout. Each team would get 5 shots to the goal, and whoever got the most goals would win the game and the championship. Each team went to his 5 shooters for 1 shot apiece. Sure enough, the rest of the overtime period was scoreless and the 5 minutes went by in no time. Shootout, the ref shouted. Teams, select your shooters. Coach Master picked his 5 shooters. Wilkes first, then Singleman, then Bowie, then Charlie, and then Rennie. Rennie was worried. What if the Hornets were out of the running before he even got his chance to shoot? But he realized that he had no control over that. Rennie trotted out onto the field. There was Bryce facing him across the center line. I'm going last. You, Bryce asked? Also, Rennie confirmed. The 2 boys shook hands and the ref flipped a coin. Called Hornets, he said. Heads. Heads it, Rennie called. Heads it is. The ref turned to Rennie. Do you want to shoot first or second? Second, Rennie said. The first Yellow Jacket to shoot was Eric Dornquist. He placed the ball at the top of the Hornets zone. Chuck Matthews braced himself in goal. Eric shot and the ball flew toward the net. Chuck leaped into the air and his arm stretched skyward and deflected the shot. Way to go, Chuck, Rennie screamed. But the first Hornet shooter did no better, his shot skimming off the side of his foot and dribbling harmlessly into the goalie's arms. The second Yellow Jacket to shoot was Steve Weintraub. He took a big shot. Chuck deflected it, but it found the top of the net and went in. A girl went up for the Hornets sideline and cheered from across the field, where the Yellow Jackets began jumping up and down. Go get him, John, Rennie said. Sigmund gave him a high five and trotted out into the field. John had a wicked shot, and I showed it now, putting a singer into the corner of the net. The score was 1-1 and 3 shots each left to go. None of the next 3 shooters managed to put the ball in the net. The score was still 1-1 and Charlie Ebbets took his turn. As the Yellow Jackets goalie steeled himself, Charlie wound up as if he gave the ball a mighty kick. Sam, fooled by the motion, went for the phantom kick, but Charlie hadn't sent the ball into the air after all, so he blasted it on the ground and right into the net. It was 2-1 Hornets with just Bryce and Rennie left to go. Bryce went first. Rennie's heart was pounding in his chest as he watched his friend size up the goalie. Chuck bounced up from foot to foot patiently. Bryce did what he did best. He used his power and strength to bowl the ball right past Chuck. The score was now tied. Come on, Rennie, Coach Master shouted above the roar of the crowd. Put it in, and we're champs. Rennie took the ball. This was it. If he failed, the score would still be tied and the teams would select other shooters. The outcome would be out of his hands. They would have to watch from the sidelines while the game and the season was decided. This was his chance, and Rennie knew it. He stood poised, waiting for the whistle. When it came, he moved with lightning speed and kicked as hard as he could. Sam leaped into the air, extending his arms to try and deflect the ball, but hit the post, then caromed across the goal, finding the net just over the goal line. The game was over. The Hornets had won it all. Bryce sank to the ground in disbelief. The season was over and his team had lost. In the past, Bryce knew his team would have thrown a tantrum right about now, breaking things wherever he could find them. But Bryce didn't feel like breaking anything now. He just felt stunned and drained and tired. His father was standing over him, gazing at him fondly. I'm real proud of you, Junior, he said, crouching and putting his head next to Bryce's. A fatherly arm came around Bryce's shoulder. It doesn't matter so much who won. You played your heart out. It was a beautiful thing to see. They hugged, and Bryce felt the tears coming. They came and came. He hadn't cried like this since 3rd grade. Finally wiped the tears away and stood up. I've got to go shake hands, he told his dad. Wait for me, okay? Sure thing, his dad said, releasing him with a smile. Bryce went over and had lined up with his team. Good game, they told each elated Hornets in turn. Good game, Bryce told Rennie, stopping to grab his hand. Really good game. You too, Rennie said with a smile. Ice cream Sundays later, remember? Bryce said, managing to smile back. Coach Hickey gathered the Yellow Jackets around him. You boys have been the best team I've ever coached, he said. I'm sorry we didn't win, but I'm not sorry we played the way we did today. We lost to a great effort by a very good team. That's soccer for you. But you can all hold your heads up. I've got a trophy for each one of you when we have the team picnic next week. The team managed to cheer. They gave each other high fives the season they'd had, a first-place finish and a great playoff. Man with the big camera came up to Bryce. Hey, number 10, I want you for a photograph for the Crestmont Herald. Come on over here. He led Bryce over to where Rennie was standing. The two of you posed together with the ball between you. That's it, the photographer said. Now kind of growl at each other. That's it. He snapped the picture, and both boys cracked up. Then the commissioner of the soccer league got on the sound system. It's time to present the championship and the MPV trophies, he announced. First, the big team trophy is given to Coach McMaster, who handed to Bill Kelly of Kelly's Plumbing, the team's sponsor. This will be featured in a big display window, McKelly crowed, holding the trophy over his head to cheers from the crowd. And now it's time for the most valuable player award, the commissioner announced. This year we had a tough decision to make. Bryce stood there frozen, hanging on to the commissioner's every word. But there was only one trophy to give out, so we couldn't split the award. Therefore, the trophy goes to Rennie Harding of the league champions Kelly Plumbing's Blue Hornets. It took Bryce a second to recover. Then he began just clapping and cheering, leading the applause of Rennie, who looked as if he was going to faint while receiving the trophy. The kid is really stunned, Bryce realized. He can't believe he got it. Bryce figured Rennie would get the award. After all, he was the best player on the winning team. That was how VPs got chosen. Bryce didn't feel hurt by it. The pain of losing the game had been much worse. Rennie was coming toward him with the trophy. Bryce, he said, you should really have won this. I don't know why. Cut it out, Bryce said. You deserve it. You guys won. That's life. Hey, you two. Bryce and Rennie turned. Coach Ellison nodded at them. Yeah, you two guys. Let me congratulate both of you. He shook each of their hands and then turned to Rennie. Listen, young fella, I'm hoping I'll be seeing you at the tryouts for the JV team next season. I suspect you'll do quite well as a center striker. Are you kidding me? Rennie gasped. I mean, thank you. Now Bryce is really hurt. The coach's words had been like daggers going through his gut. Okay, so that's part 1 of chapter 20 of Soccer Duel with Matt Christopher. Take everybody. The video from my Storytime channel.